Stories of Vision Loss. This episode features Steve.
When it comes to adventuring, you have to find people that really are excited about helping you solve a problem. Hi, my name is Steve Baskis. I'll be 40 this year. I live currently in western Colorado in a town called Montrose. That's not where I grew up. I actually grew up all over the country, 5 or more states. I was born in southern Illinois, but Kentucky, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, Texas, Florida, and New York are just some of the places I've lived growing up. I have always been someone that's athletic. I truly love to be outside and to be moving. I have this mantra, moving is living, or living is moving. And so I really enjoy spending time in the great outdoors. And I'd say, some of my hobbies are I work with audio and music. I'm a musician. I love playing instruments like the drums and piano and keyboard. I used to play the guitar. Right now I focus mostly on the drums and try to arrange and create music and share people's stories. I run a nonprofit and I try to help others get out and do the same thing that I just was speaking about, moving. And the Paralympics was a big part of my life for a while. I've competed on different levels nationally and at a World Cup outside the country and skiing. Specifically, it was biathlon, so where you ski and shoot, cross-country skiing to be specific, which is different from downhill. And then I raced tandem bikes and velodrome and wrote time trials. As of recent, I've been really involved with sailing off the East Coast. I usually have the opportunity to go out on a few different sailboats and take control of the helm or steer the sailboat. And I use technology and a lot of other things to do that. And one of them is a very famous sailboat known as the Intrepid. It won the America's Cup twice. And it's nearly 75, 80 feet long. And it's a very fun boat to drive and to spend time on the ocean. And we'll race around islands there right off the east coast of Rhode Island and practice. I really just love to adventure. I kind of look at adventuring and pushing limits allows me to explore life and other cultures. Traveling around the world is something that I have always wanted to do and pursued it for a long time now. I've climbed on every continent except Antarctica and been on expeditions like to Machu Picchu and these places that are far flung from the normal destinations where people and tourists go. But it is such a great journey to be part of one of these expeditions, to be part of a team that supports you and gives you the opportunity to accomplish something great using technology, gear, and equipment to survive in the wilderness, to be independent because you are so far from civilization. And I also was a service member in the U.S. Army.
Wow, I have so many things to ask you about. There's,
Sure.
you've been involved in so many things, it's hard to know which one I want to highlight. I think I want you to share about your time in the service first, and then we'll get into all of the different adventures and sports.
Sure.
So tell me more about how did you get into the military?
I lived on Long Island, New York back in 2001. That part of my life, I was mostly in middle school and high school. And the towers, the Twin Towers in downtown New York, Manhattan, of course, in September of that year fell because of the attacks on our country. Now, my family has always had a legacy serving the country, but it was never pushed upon me. But when the towers fell, I was kind of, I was, it bothered me. There are people directly affected in my school, and I remember the jets that were scrambled and the emergency vehicles all day long moving from all over Long Island to go and help and rescue and save whomever they could. So, of course, I was only 15, 16 years old at the time, but I remembered my family's legacy and their service. And so I started thinking more deeply about wanting to serve because of what upset me on 9/11.
Yeah, you witnessed those things through those formative years and felt called to serve.
Yes.
Yeah. And so tell me then, how does vision loss fit into your story?
While serving with the U.S. Army on the ground in Iraq, and I was part of a special unit that was protecting a general officer for the 4th Infantry Division Command. See, we had left Fort Hood, Texas to go and fight in Iraq. And like I mentioned, I was part of a personal security detachment to protect this leader. And so wherever he went on the battlefield, my team was the closest, working with him to protect him and keep him informed. And so on May 13, 2008, we had successfully completed the first half of our operation to move him from our forward operating base to a northern part of Baghdad, the capital city of Iraq or Iraq. And so upon our return, we were on a patrol in a vehicle formation. And we were my vehicle was the lead vehicle. It was an armored vehicle, a very new vehicle at the time. And it was struck by what you could say is an improvised explosive device, or an explosively formed penetrator was what it truly was, a shape charge. And that detonated next to our vehicle, and it killed a good friend of mine. His name was Victor Cota. He died next to me, and I lost all my sight because of fragments and shrapnel, small metal fragments that flew through the vehicle cabin and hit me in my arms, legs, and my head and neck. And that is how I lost my sight. I pretty much lost all my sight immediately. I had better than 20/20 vision. I think my acuity was 20/17, and it went from that to nothing. I have no light perception. So I am completely blind because of that blast.
Mm. Did you know at the time that Victor was taken, or did you find out later?
I did not know. I did not know that Victor died next to me at that moment. I was knocked unconscious.
Mhm.
And from a lot of what my friends or teammates explained to me, who saved my life, they came to my rescue and pulled me out of the vehicle and worked on me on the ground there. They were trying to do their best to make sure that I wouldn't pass there on the road because I was bleeding quite a bit. So they patched me up, and they said I was coherent and I was talking to them. But because of all the trauma and the morphine, and I really only remember shouts and like
Come on,
people saying, "You're
man.
going to be okay." And I
Okay,
remember hearing
okay.
jet engines and the different aircraft I was, moved into so that they could transport me to a forward like medical facility, and then eventually to Germany, and then back home to Walter Reed. And I had surgeries and all kinds of things to stabilize me, but I really didn't become conscious of things till I awoke in the hospital bed in Walter Reed Medical Center there near Washington, D.C. And I was told that my buddy Victor died, and that I had suffered very severe injuries to my head and other parts of my body.
Mm. Did you experience hearing loss as well?
I have lost some hearing in my right ear. My right ear suffered trauma because the blast was on the right side of the vehicle, but I was wearing hearing protection, specific kind of headphones for radio communication. I've lost just some high frequency, but for the most part, I do hear fairly well. My left arm, I almost lost. It was almost amputated because I had vascular and nerve damage, severe vascular and nerve damage in my left arm. So I can't feel anything really in my fingers and in my left hand. So playing music and doing some of the things I used to do, I have to be even more adaptive and use assistive technology sometimes. So I can't pick up pennies or
Mm,
hold things unless I use my other hand to like manipulate my left hand around something.
that makes sense. Yeah. So you end up in Walter Reed, and what happens next?
While in Walter Reed, I had individuals who came to my bedside. This organization, the Blinded Veterans Association, which is a congressionally chartered veteran service organization that works for all veterans, but specifically, definitely blind and low vision veterans. They came to my bedside, a number of people who represent the organization and then just members of the organization. And while I was talking to doctors and nurses and other people that were helping me with my recovery, they informed me that there's something that I should pursue immediately after leaving the hospital there in Washington, D.C. area. And that was to pursue blind rehabilitation. And They told me it's not mandatory, but highly recommended. And so I listened to what they had to say, and I made the decision because of their advice and stories to pursue blind rehabilitation.
Yeah. So as a child and youth, you're athletic and you did a lot of common sports.
Yes.
And then now as an adult, you do more of the outdoor adventure team sports.
Yes. I played the normal sports growing up, and I never pursued these things as a sighted individual. Cycling, like racing bikes, tandem bikes, and climbing big mountains. I kayak. I was part of a world record setting group of blind veterans that just did something in the past, 8 years on the Grand Canyon. I've learned how to do them all as someone who is blind or low vision. And it's because people have been open to my interests that I had dreamt about as a person with sight. And I felt that it was still possible if we developed certain kind of communication and systems and techniques to pursue these kinds of activities and goals. I'm so self-reliant on everything from packing my bag and cooking my meals, even to maintaining my gear and equipment and changing my layers if we're in, inclement, in bad weather. And so these things are all my responsibility, but we're still working as a team to collectively accomplish something.
Mm-hmm. Do you thrive with that competitive side?
I'm a competitive person, but mostly with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I remember laying in the hospital bed and feeling very helpless and very different from who I was when I was serving on the battlefield, leading missions. I felt weak, and I didn't feel the same. And I wanted to rebuild my life, and I realized that if I try hard to pursue the things I've always wanted to do and ask questions, I will learn how to reestablish my life. And that has really been a big part of my philosophy and ethos and internal thought process from the day I was injured till now. And I think going and pursuing a sport, to give you a good example, when I was laying in the bed at blind rehab, I was better. I had the opportunity to go to my classes and learn things about blindness, but more importantly, I was dreaming about my future and where I could go and what I could do. And I didn't understand how to do it. So I was learning, of course, the standard rudimentary blind rehab stuff. But when I went on the trips, I was forced to learn how to walk independently, in the airport, or ask for, communicate better, pack my bag and do things. And it all helped me really rebuild my life and confidence, and it gave me courage to pursue things. And at the same time, I was really just feeling better about my situation, and I was forgetting about vision loss
Mm-hmm.
and blindness. I was just living my life.
Yeah. I've noticed that in interviewing so many people, it seems like the thing that makes the difference is tackling one small task at a time in the beginning. And I think you make a great point. Like, if you can have like a goal out in your future, like, I want to pursue kayaking. How am I going to do that? Well, I need to start with, how do I keep my things organized in my bag, or how do I communicate what I need to get there? All those little teeny tiny tasks along the way.
It is. That's
Yeah.
what I've learned too from talking to people. It really is a lot of the little things in life, because those are the things we live with day to day. And if you're not comfortable with those, it's very difficult, I think, to pursue even bigger things. I've always reflected on what happened to me, but more importantly, who died next to me on the ground, in Iraq. And that was a good friend, almost like a father figure. And so I felt like I got a second chance at life, and I really shouldn't spend it upset and frustrated and down. I should try hard to live life for him who cannot live life anymore. So that's just one way I framed it in my mind. Maybe it's a coping mechanism, or however people want to look at it. But it's been a good way, I think, to look at things is to commemorate and remember someone. And whenever I do things in life that I feel are great to me, I think of him and I think of others that I've lost.
Yeah. Well, and I love the quote on your website. I wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, the quote, blindness is a lifelong challenge. If you stare in the darkness, you'll never find your way. But if you explore through the darkness, you're bound to stumble upon a great adventure or find your way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, whether they can see or not, they can also get lost in their pursuit of something. I think it's just important that we understand our ability and know how to educate ourselves in things so that we can take steps forward, even if it's into the unknown, and find a way, because sometimes we don't always know and we don't always have an answer. So that's, I think, it's a deep, for me, it's like a deep
Mm.
thing, that the quote, but
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it highlights that moving is living. Because if you're just sitting there staring into the darkness, staring into the void, then you do get kind of lost and overwhelmed. Whereas if you start exploring and reaching out, you start finding things and stumbling upon a great adventure and
yeah,
do things you never imagined or you never thought you would do, or meet people you never would have met otherwise who are a joy to be around.
I agree.
Well, I want to go to sailing because it sounded really interesting steering the helm of the Intrepid. I want to learn more about how you do that, what tech you use.
Sure. So during COVID in like 2020, I have a good friend who served in the military in the US Army as well. We have climbed in different parts of the world together. And he reached out to me and he asked me how interested I was in sailing. And I said, absolutely. I've always had this dream of sailing around the world. It would be nice to experience what it takes to cross vast oceans, what early humans did. I'm fascinated with the journey of all these kinds of athletics and sports and recreation. And every single one of them, like sailing, has different kinds of tools or equipment and teams. And so he stood up an organization called Sail to Win, and he has been building that for some time now. And I've been part of the whole journey of exploring this concept of how can a blind individual help sail the boat effectively and in a precise manner and in a safe way. And it's still a journey that we are on. And I know that some organizations already do this with blind sailors, specifically in the Paralympics and on other levels. Sailing is a very fun thing, a very tactile thing. Feeling the wind on your face, feeling the boat heel over. These different things give you sensory feedback. And all of that can be used to help better communicate to the crew, the people on top of the boat, execute different things to make the sail work better or keep the boat, on course. And then also allows me to make little adjustments with the steering wheel or the helm. And so it's a bit of rudimentary or simple systems and techniques. And really it's people and their hands and arms and moving winches, as well as sophisticated electronics and technology that we are trying to develop. But yeah, I use technology, both haptic feedback and verbal tones and noises from a system that communicates with the computer that's in the boat, that pulls information from different sensors. And we've effectively built something that allows me to stay in a corridor. If you imagine like a road, and if you walk to the edge of the road, it's dirt or rock, it changes. I get feedback when I leave this corridor, and that allows me to, make decisions to sail on this course that we have selected. And so that's the more tech side of it, and that's something that we've been building on privately. The problem that I encounter is I just can't sense or visually identify problems out in front of the boat. But with what we're trying to do, race across the Atlantic is one of our big goals. It there's not going to be much in front of the boat unless it's something that is dangerous in the water that just fell off another ship, or it's really going to be open water. But that's my adventures on a sailboat. It's quite amazing, the sounds of the water when you're down in the hull as the boat speeds up, the vibrating and oscillating like tones you get, and the tightness of ropes and all these sounds that are familiar to people maybe if they've watched movies or listened to movies. You hear these real time as the boat twitches and it just gets pulled through the water by air. And it's such a fascinating thing, such a peaceful, fun thing too if we're not trying to race. Racing is very dangerous. You can easily fall off the boat. The boat keels over quite it's not flat. It's an easy way to explain it. It's very tilted in one direction depending on what we're trying to do. And you could easily fall into the water or fall into the ropes, but it's been a remarkable feeling to work with this group of people who have helped me.
Wow, that is fascinating. So I had a few thoughts about what you're saying. One is that sailing really isn't a visual sport at all. You're not, you could look out and see the horizon potentially, but otherwise you're using tech anyway to find your way.
Yes.
So if you have that tech accessible to you, you're getting as much information.
Yeah.
But it's just the obstacles in your path, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ideally, the person who's driving the boat, the helmsman, needs to efficiently steer the boat on a course for long periods of time, because tacks on the ocean can be thousands of miles, if not hundreds, where you don't really turn much. So it's more of adjusting other kinds of parts of the boat to keep the speed up and to keep that efficient movement in one direction. It's just so much fun to be out on the water and to hear the sound of the ocean and feel the sun on your face. And there's hard days too, but it is a beautiful experience, I think.
Yeah, always an adventure, I'm sure.
Yes.
And with the tech you were talking about, I was imagining once you have a course charted, you have like a digital bumper, kind of like a bowling lane.
Yes.
And once you go past that bumper, it alerts you, and then you can get back
Yep.
to a course, but it's like a digital space that you're working within. And then you can communicate to your team, like, okay, we need the sail to do this. Okay, you pull this pulley and
Yes.
slack that rope. And
Yep.
so you're communicating what needs to happen and leading the team because you have that technology.
Yes, exactly. I love it when people come together to try to engineer and design something that will effectively help many people
Hmm.
better understand how to do something, or just to be safer. Yeah, you described it very well. The technology, we're transmitting information from sensors into vibrations or tones or true human speech to give us information about what is happening, and so that we can make decisions.
Yeah.
What you said was absolutely correct. Sometimes when people are sailing, they cannot see because of fog, because it's the middle of the night and you're on the vast ocean. It is using instruments and technology and the stars, if you can see the stars. And so it's wild to think about everybody who lived before us when they were in a foggy, cloudy, stormy sea, what kept them on course. And it was a lot of experience, a lot of feel and understanding of currents and things. So it takes time to learn these things, but anybody who's interested can, and it's just another adventure.
Yeah. So let's go over to, I want to learn more about your experience with the Paralympics, specifically the biathlon, because I've had people ask about shooting before. And how do you access shooting? What sorts of tips and tricks do you have for that piece of the biathlon?
Yeah, no. So in biathlon, and this sport where a person cross country skis, either classic or skate skis. In this regard, it would be skate skiing. It's a technique where you skate on the snow with skis on. You ski into a shooting position and you shoot targets as quickly as you can. In the Paralympics, unless something has changed, because it has been some time since I have participated, they had a rifle, and it's called an audio rifle. And the rifle does not eject or discharge a true round or bullet cartridge, it will interact with a target, and it's infrared laser beams. It's more technology. So, to give you and your listeners a better understanding of how it works, is when I ski into the shooting lanes, my guide throws her poles, his or her poles back, and I get tight. I grab one of the poles and I skate ski right next to my guide, and we're skating, and she's just giving me a little bit of information about which way to go. And when we get to the shooting position, the person that the poles I was holding that they were helping guide me with, they point that towards the mat, like they physically move it to the mat so I know where the mat is. And then as soon as they do that, I know where the mat is, and they step out of the way. I get down in the prone position, a position where I'm laying down.
Belly to the floor.
Belly to the floor, exactly. Yeah. So I get down, belly to the floor, and I put on these headphones, and I pick up the weapon system, which is cradled in a system that holds the rifle. It's a simulated 22 caliber rifle. Just the weight and the feel is exactly like a real rifle. But when I charge the weapon system, when I pull the charging handle back to simulate loading a cartridge, I get a tone in my ear. And that tone, depending on how close the rifle barrel is pointed to dead center on the target, will emit a sound that is low frequency or high frequency. And the higher it is, what happens as it rises in high frequency as you move closer to dead center, it's intermittent. So it will become less intermittent. It'll just like really make a high frequency buzz, like a old Atari game or something. And so that guides me to dead center and allows me to make a decision on when to squeeze the trigger.
Is it similar to like the Seeing AI app where they do the tone for light or no light? Have you?
Yes, very similar. Yes, absolutely. Same kind of concept.
Okay.
And this really just gives the blind or low vision user the ability to discern whether or not they are close to the target or not. And it's very hard. It can be made very difficult because it's technology and it's a laser, beam, infrared laser beam.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be made easier or harder.
And imagine in the moment you're breathing heavily, you're shaking, you're trying to scan that laser slowly across to get that tone.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably really difficult to get it right on.
I went to a World Cup in Wakati, Finland, on the Arctic Circle, where the day was only 3 or 4 hours long. And so it's extremely cold. You are wearing like a tight skin suit. You're skiing as hard as you can, and you're breathing really hard. And you're in a lot of pain when you slow down and you stop because you start to cool down. So the longer you're laying there trying to shoot targets and hit targets accurately, the colder you get in your hands. And so it's one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life. And I never skied. I never did any kind of biathlon sports as a sighted person. It was all taught as a blind person. I do have familiarity with shooting, but this is something that I pursued really solely as a blind person.
Yeah. I guess having the numbness in your left hand is almost a benefit for you because it's like it's already numb. You've
Yeah,
already
no,
practiced
it's
putting stuff in that hand.
exactly. Since I shoot, I'm primarily right-handed. I use the trigger and the handguard. That area is in my right hand, but I'm just resting the rifle on my left hand. So yes, it does. My left hand does not have to really do much other than be a stable platform. But yeah, you follow all the same marksmanship fundamentals that any person who shoots a weapon will learn. But it is an amazing sport. It is a difficult sport because of the technique with skiing and dealing with the harsh climate and being cold and hot. It's absolutely a challenging sport.
Yeah. So one last question before I let you go. Time has flown by. Your story is just so fascinating. You've got so many roads we could go down.
Yeah.
But speaking of preparation, do you have any general tips and tricks about preparing for a big adventure, a big outdoor wildlife adventure as a blind person? Like,
Sure.
there's the general preparation everybody does, but what is the icing on the cake for the blind audience?
Yeah, I'll try to be succinct, as concise and succinct as I possible.
Okay.
Advice I can give to the community I'm part of, the blind and low vision community, when it comes to adventuring, when it comes to pursuing maybe a goal that is often maybe people that are considered able-bodied look down on, or are not so open to necessarily right off the bat, or they don't teach really quickly to someone like myself. I think you have to find people that really have a vested interest in, keeping you safe, but also are excited about helping you solve a problem that they don't understand maybe completely, but have experience in what you're trying to pursue. So, for instance, if you're trying to climb a mountain, makes logical sense to speak to someone who has climbed mountains. And they're, and so talking with someone that has that skill set and desire to work with you is really one of the biggest things, because they're going to consider from the standpoint of their perspective of what it takes to accomplish something like touching the top of a mountain and returning home safely. They do it all the time for themselves and their friends they bring along that are sighted. They're just going to try to mind and consider the challenges of doing it without sight, and provide tools or resources or techniques either invented at the time or found through resources on the internet. I would say find someone like that, and that will give you the ability to go and do what you want. I think asking questions and trying to read as much as you can about successful operations and goals and adventures like this is key. And there are definitely books and things I found along the way of people who have accomplished things in this day and age that we live in. Try to reach out to the person. We have email, or they have a blog or a social media. Reach out to them and ask them directly. Don't be shy, because the book may just explain something in a very catchy way, but they don't give you all the details that you might need to have a better so-called picture, a mental picture of what needs to be put together to make something possible. I think it's important to consider your health and be strong. And so if you're going to pursue something like adventuring in a dangerous place, take it seriously and try to consider what your health is and what you should do to be safe and to be strong and to be both mentally and physically strong when you set out to do this. And stair step. You don't have to go crazy and jump. It's about the journey, really, at the end of the day. I think, we definitely, as humans, we really like instant gratification. So I think just enjoy something. And if you don't enjoy it, then maybe it's not something, you should pursue. And people can reach out to me if they want to.
Yeah. If people want to reach you, what's good information to share?
They can visit my webpage, baskis.com or stevebaskis.com, either domain. And if they want to write me, all they need to do is write steve@baskis360.com. And Baskis is spelled B as in Bravo, ASKIS. Either one is perfectly fine. Or social media. I'm on a lot of the social media platforms.
Okay, brilliant. I love how you said that the advice is find somebody who's excited to help you problem solve. I think that's a beautiful quote.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard, but if you're persistent and you really want to do something in life, I think you have that. We all have that ability. Just gotta ask questions and look.
Yeah.
If you don't share your dreams and goals with people, no one knows that you want to accomplish something. And a lot of times in life, we need teams to accomplish things, especially great things. So share what you love and what you want to do in life, and you'll be surprised how many opportunities will come your way.
That's so true. Well, do you have a trip planned to Antarctica anytime soon?
I want to go. I will get to Antarctica someday. I've been starting a business or formalizing an audio business. I've been doing it for fun, but I am more and more now, I have a commercial office space and we're recording people there, and I'm building on more different types of services, and to do a lot more, good. So I'm trying to focus on my nonprofit and my business, so which kind of work together.
Do you want to share information about your nonprofit?
I can, yeah. So my nonprofit organization is called Blind Endeavors Foundation. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization based out of Colorado, and blindendeavors.org is the webpage. We try to get people who are blind or low vision, both veterans and sighted people, moving and pursuing adventurous things, because it allows them to build confidence, strength, resilience, courage, and to live life and enjoy life. And so hopefully we'll have some grants that will be available to help people do things, as well as a blog, a podcast, and a number of other resources to point people to find answers to what they're trying to do. So Blind Endeavors.
That's wonderful. Let's sign me up.
Well, thank you, Charlotte.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you having the conversation with me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story. It's such a wealth of information and so much great encouragement, some like realistic encouragement.
Yeah, I hope so. I appreciate what you do and your podcasts. When you let me know of everything related maybe to this episode, I will definitely share it.
Thank you. Yeah, that'll be great. We'll just keep connecting people, putting our tentacles out into the world and bringing people in.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day, and we'll be in touch.
Same to you, Charlotte.
All right.
You take care.
You too.
Goodbye.
Thank you to Steve for sharing your story. We'll share information in our show notes for the Blind Endeavors Foundation at blindendeavors.org, and Steve's website, stevebaskis.com. This episode is dedicated to preserving and honoring the sacrifices of all service members, including Steve Baskis and the life of Victor Cota. Thank you for joining us in remembering their legacy. We appreciate everyone who supports this podcast. We've chosen to take down advertisements because we found them to be too disruptive to the stories we value sharing. Instead, we encourage anyone who would like to contribute to our efforts to support us through buymeacoffee.com/stories of vision loss. If financial support is not an option, you can also support us by recording an audio message to share your thoughts and help our community grow. There's a link in the description of this episode where you can support us that way. Thank you to MJ Jefferson for our production and creative partnership. And finally, thank you for listening.